Get ready for your weekly dose of pixie dust with Disney Coast to Coast.
Hey folks, and welcome to Disney Coast to Coast, the ultimate unofficial Disney fan podcast. I'm Jeff DePauli, and today on the show I have Peter Allen Vogt joining me to talk all things Disney's Hollywood Studios, because you've been there since the beginning.
Oh, I don't say Disney Hollywood Studios.
It's Disney. It's Disney-MGM in my heart as well.
It's always Disney-MGM to me.
The funny thing about that is, like, I'm a traditionalist when it comes to branding.
Right.
So, like, as a kid, the name Disney-MGM always bothered me.
Oh, really?
Yes. But now, having, like, such heart and love for Disney-MGM Studios, I prefer it over Disney's Hollywood Studios. But yes. But we're here to talk about that today. And, of course, if you're listening to this on the day of its release, it is the 30th anniversary of that park, which is crazy. So let's jump into that conversation right now.
It's time to dive into today's Disney dialogue.
Okay, so maybe we should tell folks how we first met, I guess, since it's kind of a Disney plug.
It is a Disney thing, isn't it?
We can plug a place we love, Rockwell Table and Stage, here in, is it Los Feliz or Los Feliz?
It depends on how uppity you are.
I always say Los Feliz.
I say Los Feliz, and then people give you a look, and I go, Los Feliz?
Yeah, I'm not sure which is right, but in any case,
It's on Vermont.
Yes, exactly.
Know that.
And you've been hosting their Disney nights there for a long time, yeah?
Yeah, Kate Pazakis, who's the executive producer over there, she and I used to host together. And then she, with her Umpo series, she got so busy. She was like, hey, can you do tonight? I'm not going to be able to make it. I'm like, sure. And then just slowly, she was so gracious and handed it over to me. So she still produces the show, which is great. But I am the host with Andy Arena as our piano genius. So, yeah, I've been doing it, I think, 5 years now.
Wow. And I just recently started singing as part of it. I did April. We'll see. Hopefully they'll have me back at some point. Yeah. It's been a lot of fun.
We've been doing it once a month, and now we've been doing it like once a week just to kind of play with it. It's been in high demand. People really love coming to it. You've seen, I mean, the talent is great. It's a wonderful evening of just listening to some fun Disney songs, but you get to see some people who are just starting up all the way to people who've been on Broadway. Yeah. It's great.
So it's fun. But we were just talking after a show one night, and I come to find out you have been you were there opening day, yes? At Disney-MGM Studios?
I was part of the opening cast there.
So May 1st, 1989.
I was 6 years old.
You were 6. I was 7 years old.
Please don't do the math on this.
I was 7, and that's why, like, for me, Disney-MGM Studios, like, has such a place in my heart. Number one is, like, the park that was made during my lifetime, at least my childhood.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I was alive when Epcot was built, but I was, like, months old, so I have no memory. But so there's that connection for me. Then on top of that, I was a kid living in Massachusetts who wanted to be in showbiz. So, like, Disney-MGM Studios was my first visit to Hollywood, really. I hadn't been to LA at that point. So I loved the park for all that, but you obviously have even deeper ties to it. So how did it start there for you?
I'm original cast member of what is called Streetmosphere, and now I believe people know it more as Citizens of Hollywood. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of a departure for Walt Disney World. Most of the talent they had at the parks were people who could sing and dance really well, but very few were performers, were actors. And they came up with this concept of having these performers create a community of Hollywood Boulevard, but not be lookalikes. We weren't lookalikes. We are our own creation of 1940s Hollywood. And they hired like 35 actors, comedians, different range, age, talent, abilities, experience. And we all came together, and we started in March and rehearsed up until opening day.
Wow.
And it was amazing. It was like, I was just saying, it was like going to college. It was like taking master classes by these amazing directors. And we had guest artists who would come in and train us on things. And it was unbelievable.
So did you get to, like, name your characters, or was that something that was kind of cast? Or I feel like we're talking, before so much control was put on some of these things. I feel like...
No, that's a good question. There was a genuine concept. There was the original concept was you would have, like, there's a very famous character that was created, Sid Cahuenga.
Okay.
So when you came into the park, there was Sid Cahuenga's one-of-a-kind shop, and that's where you bought really rare Disney memorabilia or even Hollywood memorabilia was in this beautiful, like, log cabin-y shed.
Oh, immediately to the left.
Yeah, exactly. Across the street from the gas station.
Yeah.
That was a set character. The gentleman who was hired to do that, he played Sid Cahuenga. No one else played Sid Cahuenga. I have an identical twin brother who is also in the industry, and we were his sons, along with, there was a woman who played the wife, and we were all his children.
So it's like your brother was working with you?
Yes, we
wow.
we worked together there. Yeah,
That's
it was
funny.
great. We never played twins in any of the things we did. We worked together because what happened is they wanted it to be these creative people. So they had there was a custodial janitor who knew everything about everybody, and he was dressed in white, and he had a specific name. And then there was a flim-flam man who would try to sell you, like, fake watches and stuff. Then you had the starlet, and you had the girl off the bus. So everyone had these specific, like, job titles, and some of them had names, but some of them we got to name our own. My brother Paul and Mo Collins, who a lot of people know from Mad TV and Parks and Rec, and then our friend Joe Wesson, who's like one of the best Ringling Brothers clowns, were put into a group that they called the Everything Truck. So whereas everyone else was playing one character, we played the Hollywood Public Works, the Hollywood Police Department, and a movie crew all on the same day in a 1940s panel truck that we had throw these magnets on the truck so you would say, oh, there's the Public Works. So we did 5 sets a day. So one set would come out as Public Works, one set would come out as the cops, one set would come out as the movie crew. So we were different characters throughout the day.
Wow. So basically one set ends, you go back, you change costume, you're coming out
Absolutely.
later.
And sometimes we changed in the truck.
Oh,
so
wow.
sometimes we'd go in and be Public Works and then go, well, I'm going to go find a cop and go in and throw on the cop outfit. But that got too crazy.
Yeah. Wow. So that's wild.
Yeah. We were the rogue talent of the studios, of the Disney-MGM Studios, because we would do things because no one had any rules because they'd never experienced live actors before like this.
Sure.
So we were the ones who were doing crazy stunts like hanging from the scaffoldings outside the restaurants, and we would call Chippendale squirrels, not chipmunks. And every morning we'd come to work and there'd be notes on the board saying,
Yep.
Please don't hang on the scaffolding. Please don't call the chipmunks squirrels. Please don't do this. But it was fun because they gave us a lot of leeway, but we got to go all the way back to your question. We got to name our characters. So like my 3 characters in the Everything Truck was Tex, who was a Texas cop who wore a cowboy hat and had a holster and gun, even though we were Hollywood people, and I was a Texan. Then Carl Lewandowski was my Public Works guy. Joe Wesson, who is of Mexican descent, was my identical twin brother. And we both claimed to be from a Hopi Indian tribe, but we didn't look alike because I had been stung by a bee and I was swollen. And we worked together. Mo Collins was B, and she was my character, Carl's girlfriend. And then my brother Paul played a character named Tony, who was a Canadian hand model who came out to Hollywood. And then our Hollywood movie crew, I was Crocker Bassett, which we had auditioned outside of Cleveland, Ohio to be in this. And the exit was Crocker Avenue and Bassett Road. And that's how I got the name for Crocker
That's so
Bassett.
funny.
And we got business cards with it on it. And Mo Collins was Angelique. She was Crocker's wife. And we were 2 horrible, uppity movie moguls who would make movies. And I would stand on top of buildings with a cape flying in the wind and be directing from the roof of a building. And we would get guests to do choreography. We'd get them to act out scenes. It was amazing. It was the coolest job.
Wow. So when time came for you to leave that, was this something where, like, Do you know, do they take those characters that you guys, or does everybody new coming in creating new characters?
Everybody got to, there's some characters that stayed the same. Like Melrose was a really popular name. It had been painted on one of the windows as an office. So Melrose as a talent agent was played by several different people.
Okay.
So that was like a name that stuck. Sid Cahuenga always stayed Sid Cahuenga because of the gentleman who played the role, and he was so wonderful, and we loved him so much. So he never changed.
Sure.
And when he passed away, they never brought in a new person for that.
Okay.
But there were other characters, like you would have say we had a cleaning woman, and they would be these crazy women, so funny and talented. They would have different names and they different affectations, and even their costumes were a little different. But you always had a cleaning woman.
Sure.
You always had a gossip columnist.
Sure.
But the gossip, like Chloe Kennard, is one of the gossip columnists, and I think she's still there. This amazing performer, Lisa Wolf-Pinkel. She's been there very long. She's amazingly talented and does so many different characters. But her mainstay is this gossip columnist. If she left, they would just get someone else to play the gossip columnist.
Yeah.
No one would be Chloe Kennard.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the fun thing, is that people weren't taking each other's names. And people were being very, like, Just in Time was the newspaper kid, you know?
Sure.
And then you had a lot of these people playing the girls off the bus were hysterical. There's one performer who created Dainty Debbie, who was a former child star who refused to grow up. And that costume was unbelievable. It was huge and beautiful, and she was hysterical. And, like, you know, here she is, like, a 30-year-old actress pretending to be 7.
Yeah, so I guess that's actually a good question, too, then. If you're creating these characters, how is costuming working with you guys? Are you guys kind of helping develop that?
That's a great, like, you made the point of things that change. In the beginning, they had kind of the concept of what the costumes were going to be.
Yeah.
So they just obviously would fit us into those costumes, like the cop and everything. But as we were developing who we are and what we wanted to do, like for me, being Tex, I would get a different belt, and I got my cowboy hat where the others got the cop hats. Joe's character was Max, and he didn't talk a lot, and he got 2 left shoes. So when you saw him walking down the street, he had 2 left shoes that were pointing out, because he was this amazing clown. Like, he's so good at physical comedy. For Public Works, we all wore overalls, but, like, I wanted mine to be loose because Mo and I would do this bit where I would be on the light pole, she would climb over me, and we were acting like we were going to fix the light, and all we do is dust a little portion of it. Then she'd come down, and as she came down, she would slide into the back of my overalls.
Oh, jeez.
So if you saw me walking towards you, you just see me, and as I walk by you, Mo is on my back, in my pants, basically, walking with me, and then she would just look at people and be like, hello, hello. So they would adjust them for us. We had the most amazing costumer at the time. His name was Doug Enderle, and this is when the costumes were made on property, because you would go on the tour.
Yeah, you'd see them making them.
And that's where they made our costumes.
Yeah.
So there were times that as they got to know us, you know, as we started developing these characters and developing relationships, and as Streetmosphere was embraced, because at first nobody knew if it was going to work. The executives were scared to death of it.
I mean, it's still there, which is kind of crazy.
There.
I know they had cuts recently, but I even think they brought a lot of them back. Like, I had heard that Dorman Esmond went away, who was like one of my favorites. Yeah. And now she's back, I think. So, I don't know. Like, it's pretty amazing that, listen, they don't have to pay any rights for any characters, which is nice. But it is one of those things that I feel like is always the first thing to get cut. So the fact that they've kept the citizens of Hollywood around, I think is fantastic.
It's a great tool for people who are looking for something to do and want to relax. It's also what I think makes it work is there's no overhead. We don't have a building to maintain.
Yeah.
They don't have to worry about, you know, certain things you do when you're doing a show that's indoors.
Sure.
I remember the first year we opened, we were considered, because they have these people that come around and click how many people you encounter.
Sure.
And just the Everything truck alone was hitting such high numbers that if we were officially an attraction, we would be what they call an e-ticket attraction.
Wow.
Because we encountered so many people in a day. Because we just entertained hundreds and hundreds of people would gather and just watch us, and then we'd move on, and it was so crazy.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So you were there before the park opened, rehearsing. Actually, I meant to ask, did you do anything else with Disney before this? Or was
No, this is my first.
This was the first. So you just
gig.
went to an audition.
We went to an audition in outside of Cleveland, Ohio. I'm from Buffalo, New York. Some friends of ours, my brother and myself, and some other friends went. We drove in, did I think we were all doing like a big convention show in Buffalo. So we literally had rehearsal at 2:00 in the morning, drove to Cleveland, which is about 3 hours away, got a hotel room, slept for 2 hours, got up, auditioned, got called back, had to drive back to do more stuff, then come back in a raging snowstorm.
Oh, no.
And then get back in time for all of us to do our different shows that we were doing. And luckily, my brother and I got cast. We got cast, and in the end of February, we were flown to Orlando, and they helped find you apartments, and they put us up and helped us find an apartment, and it was really amazing. It was an amazing experience.
That's crazy. So you're there rehearsing in a park that isn't finished, and at that point, even before the park was finished, from what I understand, there was actually production going on as well. They were shooting stuff. So I'm kind of curious what that was like, because that's kind of like just a dream in my mind to be in there. I mean, right now we're all anticipating Galaxy's Edge opening, right? And just the thought of like,
imagine where it is. Like, I know where it is, but it's like, what?
It's Disney's Hollywood Studios looks so different, but there are so many little parts that remain the same that we will get to and talk about, just because I love them as much as you do, I'm sure. But I am curious, what was it like being in that park while they were still building it? Like, first time you stepped foot in the park, do you remember anything huge not being finished? Like, was there no roof on the Chinese theater yet or anything like that?
No, they wouldn't let us in the actual park when it was stuff like that, because you had to have a hard hat and it was all safety.
Okay.
But where we were was where it is now. It's so funny to say this. Where Fantasmic is.
Oh, no kidding.
And where the Rock and Roller Coaster is.
Sure.
Was our parking lot.
Okay. Because Sunset Boulevard didn't exist.
Right.
Yeah.
And our parking lot was there, and we would go in, and that would be backstage right there. There was a building that we would go through, and the rehearsal halls were back there, and they built these amazing rehearsal spaces. And that's where we would rehearse. We got to go out into the park very close to opening just to see what it looked like and stuff. When we finally got to see Hollywood Boulevard was our stage.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable because it was so iconic. The camera building, Crossroads of the World, everything was an iconic moment from the real Hollywood, but all kind of pushed together. And then we all looked at it and we were like, it's literally a playground that we were given permission to play on. But like where Star Tours was, that wasn't open yet.
Yeah.
So what it was a huge fence with this guard shack to make it look like you were going to another part of the studio, but you couldn't go over there.
Yeah.
But that's where it ended. Like this, you had the stunt show, Indiana Jones stunt show.
Which wasn't even open yet.
Right. Yeah. That wasn't open. So that was still under construction. And then you had, there's God, I don't even know if it's there anymore, but there was a restaurant that had all these is like a prop house restaurant.
Oh yeah, the Backstage Bistro.
Yes,
that's still there.
Is it?
Yeah,
because like nobody ever went there because nobody knew it was there, and then there was a fence.
Yeah,
and because we used to do bits over there because we were Public Works, so we'd act like we were fixing stuff, but there was nothing after that.
Yeah, that park was not ready when it opened.
Yeah.
Like hands down, I think it was the Great Movie Ride and the tour.
The Great Movie Ride and the tour were the two main big things that were open. The Primetime Cafe.
Yeah.
The Commissary, I think, was open. The animation tour.
And like the TV Star show.
Superstar Television.
Yeah.
They were hired along with us. So you had Superstar Television, which was all actors, and that was new. There was that, the Foley stage show that happened next door. Mm-hmm. And then they had Screen Test, where people could be put into scenes in movies and then buy those videotapes.
Yes, VHS.
VHS.
Back in the...
And those were all actors who performed in those places as well. We all came in as one big group. And everybody had their jobs and stuff. And then slowly we'd infiltrate each other's jobs. And once a stunt show opened, even though the stunt show has its own pre-show, myself, Joe, and this other woman, Donna, would do a pre-show as the audience was coming in.
Oh, okay.
My street mo character of Public Works, Carl Lunowski, became a single performance for me. So I would go over there and do pre-show as Carl and mess around with the audience and be in the audience and then go out on the stage and do stuff. As well as I was one of the few people allowed to do a pre-show for Fantasmic.
I remember the pre-shows for Fantasmic. I'm maybe you didn't do this character. I remember people dressing up as bellhops from Tower of Terror and doing some sort of pre-show.
That was some weird thing that somebody was trying, but that wasn't like, I came out as Carl on a microphone and literally did a pre-show for 10,000 people.
Wow.
It was amazing. Because they kept saying it was fantastic.
Yeah.
The window cleaner. And they said, we're choosing a car from the parking lot and we're going to dip it in this vat of Fantastic and get people. And then I'd have people stand up and then I'd whittle it down to one or two people and have them fight with who's going to date me. I'd have these women stand up and come up with all these conditions. It was really fun.
Jeez. It sounds like you had a tremendous amount of freedom.
We did. I mean, of course, in anything you have to be Disney friendly.
Sure.
You know, there's certain limits you have to have, but they really encouraged us at the time to create our own bits. And the great thing is the training that we had and the talent that we were surrounded with. Like, I remember coming out on set one day and there was a girl sitting on the curb. She played a girl off the bus. And all of a sudden I was like, why are you crying? And because she'd never been kissed yet. And we literally took that moment and created, through improv, a sketch of Never Been Kissed Before. And that became a bit that everybody learned who could do it, you know, depending on, you always had a high status and low status characters. And that's how our bits were created, is that we would just start improvising with each other on set. My brother and this great guy, Terry Ward, who's a magician, he plays a great HP. I think his character's changed, but he's still there doing magic. He does close-up magic on the street. And he's amazing. And he and my brother were doing this thing where they're talking to people as they're leaving. Hey, where are you from? And this guy was like, man, Boston. And all of a sudden they both looked at each other and went, man, Boston. And it became a game where they would copy people, but to see how many they could do. And they got up, like, a group of us would do it and get up to 30 people.
Yeah.
And we'd have hundreds of people that would gather around us at night. And that would be kind of like the goodbye thing that we would do. And just be like, where are you from? Washington. Washington. Boston. And you just keep, you know, that game where you just tag it on.
Yeah.
It was amazing. But it all just came from working with these great people and great talent and just really, really fun. So we did. We had a lot of try it. But, I mean, there were always rules to follow.
Sure.
You know, the Walt Disney World is not going to say,
yeah,
go crazy, kids.
But, yeah, wow. It was a different time for sure.
It was. I think things are tighter now.
Yeah.
It's a more sensitive world out there. Things are a lot more, you say something one way and people take it the other way. So you have to be, I think it's even harder for them. I think they have to be more careful.
Yeah.
With certain things they do. Like, I don't think like the Never Been Kissed bit would work anymore.
Yeah.
Because it was all about like, she's never been kissed and then she starts kissing guys when the lead guy isn't looking.
Yeah, that probably wouldn't
work.
Right?
I mean,
Yeah.
Like, we used to do a thing where it was an audition to go on a date to the White House, and one of the guys thought it was an audition. He played a has-been actor and demanded to be included in this audition. Every time we tried to explain to him, he goes, I've got it. And he would do it. And in the end, he actually won because he was the best out of everybody. So you had like 4 girls and this one guy. Yeah. And he won getting to go on the date to the White House. And so 2 guys are walking away. And back then it was very, very funny. But now I'm afraid like people would be like, oh, I found that offensive. Yeah. So you don't know. You don't know how people are these days. Plus it's Disney. Yeah. You know, Disney has a certain family friendly, yeah. Which is great.
The Disney brand has kind of branched out now that they own everything under the sun. But I do feel like the parks still, no matter what franchise is in the parks, they still have a brand.
Yeah, you know? Absolutely. And the Studios was really big on that. The Studios was the first park. I think it's their 5th one they did when it opened. It was the 5th one they had. The 5th one they'd done. Yeah. And the great thing about it was literally a park that was handed over from like operations to entertainment. Like entertainment had a bigger hand in this park than it did in the other parks.
Yeah, it has an interesting little... I mean, I'm sure you've heard the stories of how a lot of it sounds like was stolen from Universal Florida.
Oh,
and
yeah. There's a whole...
All the Michael Eisner.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, the Michael Eisner saw some things, but then somebody said, but the park in Florida was already designed like 2 years prior.
Well, I know it was supposed to originally be a piece of Epcot, and then
the studios, Disney-MGM Studios originally, yeah,
it was supposed to be a piece of Epcot that became its own thing, opened before anything was ready, but like. I think opening day tickets were like $30, which is crazy.
Yeah, I think it was like $29 and then like $23 for kids.
Now, did you work opening day?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. From what I hear, like parking lot was closed within an hour.
It was closed by like 9:15
That's
a.m.
crazy. Yeah. I mean, partially because it was a small park. I guess it hit capacity pretty quickly.
Yeah, the park wasn't that huge, and the parking lot wasn't that huge, and I don't think they were expecting the reaction they got from people, because we had done a party the day before, because there was always, there's always that thing of proof of concept, like for Streetmosphere Citizens of Hollywood. Some people didn't think it was going to work. Some people didn't get it until they experienced what we were doing. And then they were like, wow, this is amazing, because it was kind of like the concept of a Ren fair, So we would never lose the 40s aspect. Like when our training was trained in watching movies from the 40s, learning that lingo, like cabbage instead of money, hey, you got any cabbage on you? Or how much lettuce is it going to cost me? And that kind of banter and talk and certain words that you would use. That was really instilled in all of us to keep that going. So someone pulls out like a cell phone or a camera, you're like, hey, what's that thing? I've never seen that before. But not to the point where you're like, what magic do you have?
Yeah.
So there's a great plaque in the park. We call it the Grassy Knoll because we love to go up there and pretend to play golf. But it says this is the Hollywood that never was but should have been.
That always will be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was the Michael Eisner opening day speech.
It was amazing.
It's perfect, yeah. And now, obviously, you were there for a lot of change. You were there for what, 10 years?
10 years.
Wow.
And then, I was there full time for 10 years. And then, even though I moved to California, I stayed as a cast member there and would go back and work at Streetmosphere and at the Pleasure Island Comedy Warehouse and the Adventurers Club.
Wow. Oh, you did the Adventurers Club?
Oh, yeah. I did Adventurers Club and Comedy Warehouse.
Oh, gosh. We could do a whole episode about that. That's unbelievable. But you obviously saw the park go through a lot of change. So, eventually Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular opens.
So good.
Which I just saw like a week ago. It's one of those things.
You did?
Yeah. I was there the night before our last performance.
Oh, you've never gone before that?
Oh, no, I had gone before that.
Okay.
But I'm just saying I just went again. Like, I can't go to that park and not see it. I know there are people who are like, it's old. I'm like, this show's awesome. And there's part of me, I know that it's going to be going through some big changes. I'm happy to hear at least the rumors are saying it's not going away. It's just going to be updated, which I get it. It should be updated. I am sad they'll take away all of like the behind the scenes or shooting a movie storyline stuff. I'm sure that's all going to go.
I don't know. I know. I just saw that it's going to be updated. I still have friends that work there.
Wow.
I saw that it's going to be updated, which I think is great. When it was the 25th anniversary, they were talking about closing it because that's where they thought, more expansion was going to happen with like Star Wars Land and all of that sort of stuff. But the show is still it has a great response from the guests, and it packs
a lot of people
all the time. And it's so funny because I'll go and see it and I'll be like, how many times do I have to see? I worked here.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it'll start and I'll be like, oh, I love this part.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Oh, here comes the plane. Oh, I forgot about the Casbah, Yeah. It has really amazing moments. And all of the guys there, again, that was another cool thing that happened was they're all stunt actors. They're all doing these real stunts and they were all trained professionals. And I know they did the thing. There was something to do with the swastikas in the beginning few years. It was swastikas.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
I know they're like crosses now.
Yeah, now it's like a Greek symbol or something. But originally it was swastikas. Until I think somebody went,
Maybe not.
Maybe let's change that. Maybe we should change that.
That's great. So, yeah, that show I still love to this
Yeah.
day. As you said, it packs the people in. I'm happy to hear it sounds like it's going to survive.
Yeah, I think it's doing great.
I do remember, I can vividly remember back in 1989, going with my family, seeing it, and they have the giant sort of Harrison Ford Indiana Jones marquee, and my mom being like, "Oh, I wonder what they'll have to change that eventually. Like, it can't stay Indiana Jones forever." And now we are here 30 years later.
It's crazy.
It's insane.
And the fact that they're improving it, and some of the guys are still there.
Yeah.
Like there's up until maybe 2 or 3 years ago, there's a guy who was the original Indiana Jones. He has been performing that show amazingly well.
Yeah.
And now has just transitioned from being an Indiana Jones to, he's the director guy now.
Okay, yeah.
But I mean, he's this, of course, crazy, fit, handsome guy that's been doing this type of show for years, and he's still a part of it. Like, I think he trains the new Indianas that come in.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, so one of the things I keep saying, my nostalgia gets to me, and I hate to see these original pieces of the park go away. And I will say, with the opening of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, I'm always like, okay, I feel like everything that's there right now is safe for a couple years, because they just need places for people to go.
Right.
Like, so, Indy's safe. Like, Muppet Vision 3D, I think is safe for a little while.
I think it's safe.
That's such
People
a tough
love
one
that.
for me. I love it, and it still packs them at Disney's Hollywood Studios. It wasn't here at Disney California Adventure, but at Hollywood Studios it does.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Because they created that great courtyard for it. And it's in a great location.
They're so wishy-washy with the Muppets. I can't figure them out. Some days I'm like, oh,
Well,
Disney.
some days they own them and some days they don't.
Yeah, totally.
And now they own them again.
Yeah.
But I think because there used to be a show.
I saw all the all the Muppet
there
shows.
used to be the show, the big show.
Yeah, where Voyage is now. Voyage of the Little Mermaid.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it used to be the big band show. Well, actually, the band show is what is now Sunset.
Yes.
And that's where we did Hollywood, the Dick Tracy show.
Dick Tracy, I loved.
Oh, that was one of the best shows.
It really was. That show.
Opening night was amazing.
Oh.
Walking down the street, we walked down the street in our Streetmo characters. And we walked down the street and we would look at all these celebrities and Dustin Hoffman and all these amazing actors and just looked at them and because my character was, I did Crocker Bassett that night, and I would just walk down. I had this cane, I had this amazing all plaid suit. Everything matched, like pants, vest, hat, everything was plaid. And then afterwards backstage, they would be like, "Oh my God, you guys are the coolest. We want your job."
Yeah.
So it was really fun. But that was a great show. The Muppet show there was amazing.
Yeah.
To see them do all of that work. Because Jim Henson was very hands-on at the time. And in fact, we all saw him literally the day before he passed.
Wow.
He was at the park and he had become really important. I only got to meet him once or twice, but to a lot of my friends who performed those characters, he became very close to a lot of those people.
Wow.
It was a huge... when we lost him
at
the park, because he really become part of the family there.
Yeah, no, you must have heard, having been there, like the whole Muppet area was supposed to be even bigger.
Yeah.
Did you hear about I love the parody ride that they were working on?
Yeah.
The Great Muppet Movie ride.
Yeah.
That would have been incredible.
I know.
Oh, such a loss.
Space and money.
Yeah, right. Now, we haven't known each other that long, so you don't know about my obsession.
Uh-oh.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Oh, love it.
I am obsessed with Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and there used to be tons of representation of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids in that park. Do you know where the one spot is now where you can still see it?
The Honey, I Shrunk the Kids? Is the playground gone?
It's gone. It's Star Wars now.
Oh, see, I haven't been there.
Oh, it's hard. That broke my heart. Broke my heart. And the thing I'm even more upset about is the fact that they didn't work any of it into Andy's backyard as part of Toy Story Land.
Right,
They could have easily.
See, I'll be honest, I haven't been there since they opened the Toy Story Land and they changed a lot of the footprint of it.
Yeah.
I was there right after they finally got rid of the hat.
Oh, the hat. What was the thought of the hat for the people working there?
None of us know. None of us could tell you because we all hated it.
Yeah.
I thought it hated the look down the street. Sorry if anyone's listening.
No, well, it's funny because I'm one of the people that hated the hat because I grew up with the Chinese theater, and But there was a whole generation of kids where the funny thing was by the time they got rid of the hat, it had been there longer than it was without, which was crazy to even think of.
But you just look at it, and here's the thing is, like, where they put the hat, we used to call the nose stage.
Okay.
And that's where we would put up a stage, and when we had big...
They still do.
Things happening, right. Big things would happen on that stage, but do you know why that's called the nose stage?
Well, I know that if you look from the park from above, it's Mickey.
It's Mickey's nose.
Yeah,
exactly. And so putting the hat there ruined that amazing kind of hidden Mickey in a way, because it was like so huge.
Yeah.
To see it, like when you see it from the sky, it's unbelievable. But that was also such a great performance space for a lot of us. So when they put the hat there, that's where our big Christmas tree used to always go.
Yeah.
We did a fun Christmas tree lighting every day during Christmas. But also just to look down that street and you see all these icons, and then boom, there's a Chinese theater.
Yeah.
And Alice's hat.
Yeah.
And it was like, what?
It's stupid. That was put there in 2001 for the 100 Years of Magic, celebrating Walt's 100th birthday. But yes, I was never a fan of it.
Yeah, that was a gift Walt wanted to return, but no one gave him a seat.
Right. Yeah, it was pretty ugly. I'm sure you wouldn't care about this, but I am curious. Do you happen to remember when NSYNC performed on the big stage? They did the whole Disney Channel special.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't there for that, because there was sometimes we couldn't be there, but yeah. Yeah, those guys, because who worked with us? I've got to get the right ones right. Which is the NSYNC and which are the Backstreet?
Oh, okay. Well, NSYNC is on Mickey Mouse Club, Justin Timberlake. Right. And so Justin
and those, okay, so those guys were...
Justin and JC were both on Mickey Mouse Club and also in NSYNC.
The fun thing I love is that friends of mine who did the Mickey Mouse Club, like, played their moms and stuff in sketches and stuff. Backstreet Boys, Kevin... used to be a Mutant Ninja Turtle.
Oh, yeah, in Aladdin as well, I think, at one point.
I don't know if he played. He might have been. But he was a turtle, and then they did this thing where they're like, oh, we do this singing group. And, of course, we're all like, oh, okay, boys, have fun.
Yeah.
And
then all of a sudden they're huge.
Kaboom.
Yeah.
So, but I remember we would run into them every now and then. They were always stayed really cool and nice, but it was just funny because, like, were you just... a turtle yesterday?
Yeah, exactly.
And now you're super rich and famous.
That's funny. Well, they weren't super rich. Somebody was stealing all their money.
That's true.
But
hello.
Yeah, but what was some of the production you remember going on? Because that was the cool thing about the park. It was a real studio.
It was a real studio. One of the coolest things was Passenger 57. Was a major film that was filmed there, and that plane set was something that people could go on. But it was a plane set also that they gave to us to work on. So some of our crew, of the actors in Streetmosphere got to be this modern day movie crew. So you would be going through the tour and they would be on the set from Passenger 57 pretending to film a movie. But also in the movie are people that we worked with. There are people that worked at the Disney-MGM Studios as actors are in that movie.
Wow.
There's one of the guys is, I think he's the first guy who gets shot. Another guy plays a cop. But there's several actors that got to be in the film. So that is kind of like a cool thing. The Mickey Mouse Club was great, but you couldn't really get in to see that a lot. If you booked it, it was wonderful. And we all booked something and worked on a lot. But it wasn't as big as, say, like what they did with Universal or what we used to here in Hollywood. It was only a few sound stages that they had going on. But they did, they had the Alice in Wonderland. They had the Mickey Mouse Club. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. The cool thing that happened was with the animation department.
Yes.
Is when they started actually making the animated films there because they were bringing in actors to do this body stuff that the animators would watch. So like for Mulan, the grandmother is a friend of mine's. She came in and was acting for them.
Oh, wow.
And she's, 27 at the time, but was acting like an old grandmother. So it's her affectations that they grabbed and animated.
Yeah.
And the same for the governor in Pocahontas. Is like this guy that used to work with us, amazingly, just this super tall, deep-voiced man. And he was such a sweetheart, but looked like the perfect villain. So we got to do stuff like that. We got to be included in really amazing projects and get to meet amazing people that way. So the productions were really great, but it never seemed like it took off 100%.
Yeah.
And plus then you had Nickelodeon move in.
Yes.
And that kind of grabbed a lot of stuff.
I am curious, when your 10 years came, like, why did you decide to move on from there?
I moved down because I was lucky enough that my brother and I had been cast on a TV show on ABC.
Would you guys only work together? Is that the deal?
No, actually we didn't. It was very funny because as the years went on in Florida, as I said, I worked at Comedy Warehouse and I worked at Adventurers Club. My brother, as we just grew, we started doing our characters separately. We didn't perform together all the time. And he eventually became a full-time cast member of Comedy Warehouse. And also would do Hoop-Dee-Doo Review.
Oh, gosh. Hoop-Dee-Doo still running.
So he's a 6-bits.
Unbelievable.
From Hoop-Dee-Doo. I never got into Hoop-Dee-Doo, but I got into the comedy. Like, at one point, he wanted Comedy Warehouse. I wanted Hoop-Dee-Doo. He got Hoop-Dee-Doo. I got Comedy Warehouse. And then he finally came over. He took a full-time contract. I was always a sub because I could work everywhere. Mm-hmm. And he didn't work at Adventurers Club. And I worked there as the butler with just the stupidest, funniest people in the world. It was just the best.
So you got the ABC show, which got you out of Orlando.
Right.
Okay.
So
what show was that?
It was called Maximum Bob.
Okay.
It was a Barry Sonnenfeld TV show. And, ran for 7 episodes and then stops. And you're like, why did I move here?
No, well, but yeah, I mean, this is probably going quite a bit in the future, but one thing we haven't touched upon, Disney related, is you did work on Hannah Montana.
Yeah, I was the next door neighbor in Hannah Montana.
How many years was that?
3 years. I did, I think, 7 or 8 episodes as the next door neighbor. But I've also I'm in Princess Diaries 2. Have done other Disney shows and stuff like that. So it's like Good Luck Charlie, and
okay.
So I've worked for them in that aspect as well.
Yeah. So it sounds like you had so much fun. I am curious, over that 10-year span, did you find things shifting, changing? Because I guess 10 years and that would have brought you to 99. So it was still a studio at that point. In fact, I think it was still called Disney-MGM at that point, wasn't it?
Yeah, it didn't change the name for
till 2008.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say it was almost 10 years later since we left. I would go back and work. So I worked well until, even though we were doing fairly decent out here, I would still go back to see my friends and family in Orlando, but also work. I was still on the rosters there. I was still an employee of them, as well as doing stuff out here for Disney California Adventure. I was part of opening for that. I did.
What did you do for them?
The main thing was the Lilo and Stitch Luau show.
Where the heck was that?
Exactly. It was back in Paradise Pier, back where the Screamin' Orange ride was.
Yeah.
Where there's a pizza shop, Pizza Umau Mau.
Yeah.
And we had a stage in front of Pizza Umau Mau, and I would come out and perform with Stitch, and the girls would come out and perform with Lilo, and it was this interactive show that would happen.
Now tell me this, would you have moments there at Disney California Adventure being like, I left Disney-MGM Studios for this park? I mean...
yes and no, only because I thought their Hollywood... I was like,
their Hollywood is such a disappointment.
Yeah, I was like, you could do, and I'm not trying to bash on them, but I was like, you could do so much better.
Just bring the citizens of Hollywood.
Yeah, and I was actually part of the opening group of the citizens of Buena Vista Street.
Okay.
But they're really, it's a different concept. There you are exactly that character, and there are several people who play the same character. So Officer Blue is... If you're playing it, if I'm playing it, it's all the same name. It's the same costume.
Yeah.
Nothing has changed.
Yeah.
And I felt that was a little too linear for what they wanted to do and for what I thought they could do. There's amazing talent out there.
Yeah.
The talent they have is unbelievable.
Yeah.
From just like the regular shows to the shows in the Hyperion. So I think that they were wasting a lot of people's abilities by limiting, and they didn't want the characters to interact too much, which I also thought was like, no, we should all be able to create scenes together with the guests. But there was just this stigma of like, no, that's what they do in Florida. We don't do that here in California.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I am curious, do you have any like Eisner stories? I love Michael Eisner.
I've never had a problem with Mr. Eisner. My favorite Michael Eisner story is because myself and Paul and Mo and Joe, we were this separate group. He and Jeffrey Katzenberg, when they saw us perform, they loved us. We stood out. We were very lucky. The stuff we did was funny. We were lightning in a bottle. I mean, you get to work with your identical twin brother and then two other people that you find that are the same page as you. And our humor was just unbelievable. The improv was flawless. Even when we made mistakes, it was hysterical, and we just trusted each other, which is like the biggest thing. So we would do our stuff, and we would just get huge crowds. So I know that Eisner, in fact, Jeffrey Katzenberg sent back a message after opening night and said, "You tell those four they were amazing, that they were the best thing we've seen." And I know Michael Eisner enjoyed us, and although he never knew my name, he did know who I was because we did tons of special events. I mean, not only did we do street mode, we were their pool for private parties. We do, tacky tourists or the bad waiters, or we're going to be the family that don't belong there, or we are always being implemented into different events, which was another great reason to work there.
Yeah.
And they were so smart at drawing from that talent pool. But I remember when 101 Dalmatians live action was premiering, and they had a bunch of puppies, 100 Dalmatian puppies.
Was this at the park?
This is at the park. This is the big premiere was at the park. Mr. Eisner was there, and they had this area of all these puppies running around, and some were humping each other and stuff. And he walks up, and I was playing like a dog wrangler or something, and he comes and he looks at me and he looks down there and the dogs are humping and he goes, "Well, what's this all about?" And I said, "It's like a lobster tank. Pick one out and then, we'll serve it to you for dinner." And he burst out laughing. And I found out later, like, people were like, he was like telling that joke like he created it.
Yeah, yeah.
So I always thought he was pretty nice to those of us who weren't real up there,
Yeah.
Because we got to open the studios, we met so many, like Dick Nunes.
And that was his first park, too.
Yeah,
that was my...
Yeah, because he came from Paramount.
Yeah.
But we got to deal with people that were actually, like Dick Nunes, who was a direct person who worked with Walt Disney.
Yeah.
And he would tell us, one night we were in the Brown Derby, we were allowed to go in and be guests, and we were being crazy. And the manager of the Brown Derby came over and was trying to hush us down and talk to us as, like try to get us to leave. And Dick Nunes was at the table next door and stopped the guy and said, "No, you leave them alone." And he came over and he said, "I just want to let you guys know, I think you're great. We love what you do." I went out with Art Linkletter and Walt Disney one night and we partied crazy. And the next day we got down to work and he said that Walt Disney always said, "I want my people to work hard, but I want them also to play hard."
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, that's a Walt Disney. That's you hang out with Walt Disney. Wow.
Yeah.
So we get to take that story and carry it on,
Yeah.
Dick Nunes was amazing. He was somebody that I did get to know, would run into all the time, kind of knew who I was. He's a huge executive, but he was a really great guy.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing I found is like a lot of the executives were really nice. Now the company I think is so huge.
Yeah.
Bob Iger is great and everything, but I don't know that he would know any of the citizens of Hollywood and stuff.
Yeah. I don't even know if he knows the citizens of Hollywood exist.
Exactly.
They're not an intellectual property, so
yeah.
If he knew, they might not still be there, unfortunately. So
no, don't.
Anyway, Disney's Hollywood Studios, Disney-MGM Studios always had some really cool events. I think one that people loved is the Osborne Family Spectacle of Dancing Lights at Christmas, which sadly I never got to witness. I do remember one time seeing the lights hung. Actually, a couple times I was there and like the lights were hung. They just weren't ready to do the show yet. But I remember that started on Residential Street, I believe, right? Which eventually got bulldozed. Were you still working there when that happened or no?
No,
okay.
That happened after I left because we did so much on Residential Street. We used to do a party, like people could buy a party on Residential Street.
Rent out the street.
And what it was is that the tram would come down Residential Street and break down, and then someone would come out of one of the houses and be like, what's going on? Oh, we broke down. Oh, well, let's just have a party until we can fix it.
That's awesome.
And on that street they had redone the Leave It to Beaver, the new Leave It to Beaver show.
Wasn't that Universal? I think. What are you?
I know there's a Golden Girl house. I thought
Golden Girls, Adventures in Wonderland, Ernest, Empty Nest.
Empty Nest. I always thought the Leave It to Beaver house was there, but maybe I could be wrong. You're more an expert than I am.
I don't think it was Leave It to Beaver.
But my character lived in the Golden Girls house.
Oh, okay, nice.
And they were just all facades. None of them were real houses, but we would all be behind the set, and at the right time we would know our cue, and we'd come out of our house and be like, "Oh, hey, what's going on?"
That's so cool.
And then that was the great thing about that party was we sat down at picnic tables and we ate. We went through the food line. We ate with the guests.
Yeah.
And we interacted with them, and every now and then you'd wander away and take a quick little break.
Yeah.
But we played games with them, and it was just like 2 to 3 hours, so much fun.
Oh.
And so, yeah, Residential Street and Osborne Lights, we would turn them on.
Oh, really?
There was a big show
That's
about turning
cool.
them on, and we were all a part of that. And we got to meet the Osborne family. They were amazing.
Wow.
They were so sweet and kind, and they always were there for the first night of doing it. But every other night after that, like, there's a big switch. We'd get a kid out of the audience, make a big hullabaloo about it. It was really, really fun.
That's so crazy. Yeah, when Residential Street went away, like, to me, that was the beginning of the end for Disney-MGM Studios.
Yeah.
You know? I was like, all right, like, I get it. It's not so much a studio anymore. They're not really producing stuff here anymore. I get it. But I am curious, is there anything that's, like, missing now that used to be there that you really miss tremendously?
I think, like, it's not one thing, it's the feeling of it. It used to have this great, like, little park that could.
Yeah.
And it was the park that you could go and do in a day, but not feel gypped about it. Like,
I just spent a full day there.
Yeah.
And people always give me crap for that. I mean, it is my favorite park. But people are always like, there's not enough to spend a whole day.
Right, and
I'm like, I did it.
Yeah, people always say that, but in the end, there really is.
Yeah.
You know, especially with the addition of Sunset Boulevard, which I thought I was there for that, and I love the addition of Sunset Boulevard. I thought that was great. Again, gave us even more playing space to work on, better things to do. It gave us more, like, because we could go down Sunset Boulevard, go to the Brown Derby. So I feel like it's turning more into where, like, the Magic Kingdom, and they just have their lands.
Sure.
And now it's becoming more about the lands, where I think the park itself was a big, huge one item. Like, it was a one big e-ticket.
Yeah, you're right. I never thought of it that way. I know it was broken into, I think, 4 lands when it opened, but you're right. It did feel
but
like...
they weren't really lands,
yeah,
though. Do you know
there
what I mean?
were areas.
It's like over here, like, if you walk over here through this archway, now you can go on the animation tour and come down this street and you'll see this.
Yeah, you're right.
It had a flow to it.
Yep.
And that Chinese theater and the water tower icon...
That's the thing that kills me, is the water tower.
Yeah.
The water tower being gone kills my soul.
Catastrophe Canyon.
Oh.
Was so great.
Catastrophe Canyon. The area of the park that you can go to still, and if you just turn your back in a certain direction, you can still pretend that Disney-MGM Studios there, is Echo Lake.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
You can go there.
Primetime Cafe.
Primetime's still there. The Gertie is still there. Indiana Jones is still there. You still got the Roger Rabbit billboard. You've got a Rocketeer helmet. Yeah. Like, you've just got...
There's a Tune-In Lounge is the bar next to Primetime.
Yeah.
There's just
peanut butter and jelly milkshakes.
Yeah.
Oh, the best.
But just that section right there, because I think you have Hollywood and Dine. Is that still there?
I think it might be, yeah.
So it goes Hollywood and Dine, Primetime Cafe, and then the Tune-In Lounge.
Yeah.
And then you have the Echo Lake, you have Gertie, then you have the boat in front of Gertie.
Yep.
And we used to climb up on that boat.
Did you really?
As Streetosphere, as the Public Works, and we'd get in trouble.
Must have had a note every day, do not climb this. Eventually the messengers were like, just don't climb stuff.
Well, the reason that they didn't want us up there was because it's a forced perspective.
Oh, okay.
It's not as big as you think it is.
Sure.
And when someone goes up there, you see, like, we look giant.
Yeah.
So we, of course, did this bit like, oh, you're growing. Oh, yeah. And then there is a stairway in between Hollywood and Vine and Primetime Cafe that looks like apartments. And if you look, you can see who lives there. It's like different names. And it's very Spanish decor and very, but if you go up those stairs, it gets you to the roof. And that's where we would perform upon the roof.
Wow.
So we knew all these different, like, secret areas to go, and we pop out windows you're not supposed to pop out of. There's a dance studio above the Hollywood and Vine. There's a big, huge window with a dance studio that overlooks Echo Lake Park and all that. And we would perform up there and do, like, pretend to be dancing, and it was crazy. It was nuts.
That place was your playground.
It was. It was a playground, and they let us play.
That's unbelievable. Anything else you want to add about memories of Disney-MGM Studios before we get on to some trivia?
It's so funny. The only thing, it's just, to me, it was all about the people and not just, like, the actors. Like, we created such a fun world. Like, they called it performance theming. So everybody had been trained, the ride operators, the people who worked in the stores, custodial, everybody had a kind of a pride and ownership. And I think that's the other important thing, was that everybody felt like we were all doing this together.
Yeah.
Because there are people I have such a fond memory of that were like, who worked in the stores. We would come into the stores every day, and my one character claimed to own all the stores, and he would walk in and they would totally be like, "Oh, Mr. Bassett, how are you today?" And, he'd be like, "Oh, put this on my list." Of course, right away, Mr. Bassett. Like, they totally would play with us.
Yeah.
And I remember my brother had this wonderful woman. She was the shyest person in the world. Her name was Wanda. And he would go into her shop, and his character was in love with her and would embarrass her, but to the best end of it, where she would just smile, and he would sing love songs to her, and would sit on the counter where she was working. And she was this older woman, and she just, those are the fondest memories. The people that we got to work with, the things we got to do there, and the guests. There are guests. We've watched kids grow up.
Yeah.
And we're still friends with them.
Yeah.
There are people that would come and see us every year and bring us cookies, and we'd be like, "Oh, the McCains are here. Yay."
Yeah.
It's just something I don't think you have anymore.
Yeah.
Like, that's just that sense of, like, it felt like a home. Like I was telling you earlier, like, we felt like we all went through college together, and and I feel that studio created that, and it was just different.
That's really I don't think, not that I had anything to do with it, but I don't think there's any other park that I could say did, like, even Magic Kingdom or Epcot. Like, you can't even say it's just because it was before it got too corporate or something, because I can't imagine Magic Kingdom or Epcot feeling that way. But for some reason, when you tell me these stories about Disney-MGM Studios, it sounds like a college campus. It sounds like a studio of sorts, where, like, if you're on a studio lot long enough, that starts to feel like a college campus,
Yeah, so they really build a wonderful world. And I've worked at all the parks. I was a performer at Epcot for years. I got to work in all the different countries. I've met people from all over the world from that. I love Epcot. One of my favorite places. Magic Kingdom, iconic. Just, I have great fondness for that. I was part of the opening people for Animal Kingdom, and know so many people that still work there. And a lot of my friends who started where I am are now executives with the company.
Yeah.
And they all have different positions and jobs. Some are still in entertainment. Some are running the parks, or general managers of the parks. We still have a love for the studios.
Yeah.
The Disney-MGM Studios will always be, like, our heart.
Yeah.
And I think, even though they're putting in the Galaxy's Edge thing, and they've got I think it's Andy's Playground or whatever they're calling it.
Toy Story Land. Very creative.
Yeah. Even though that's there, they still are leaving pieces of what was there, with that Hollywood that was never there. And I think as long as that's still there, I don't think that feeling will go away. I think Street Fair helps with that.
Yeah.
But the Brown Derby, having that archway.
I think the Chinese theater's safe, which is nice, because when they closed the Great Movie Ride, that broke my heart, but it would have killed me even more if the Chinese theater went away. It's nice to know that Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway is going into that same space.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's certain areas that I'm like, please don't touch. I don't, trust that it will all stay, because getting rid of the Eiffel Tower, That blew my mind. I
Yeah,
couldn't
can't
believe
they did.
they did
that.
that.
The Chinese theater wasn't the icon. You know how like every park has an icon. It was the water tower was considered the icon.
Well, it was weird because that park's had like, I'd say 4 of them. It's had the Eiffel Tower, it's had the Chinese theater, it's had the Tower of Terror, and it's had the Sorcerer Mickey hat.
Right.
So like they kind of really, I'd say the most consistent one was probably the Eiffel Tower, but yeah, they're all over the place. Now it's Tower of Terror.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what you see, like the little iconography on the maps and stuff. It's the Tower of Terror.
Oh, funny.
Which is weird. But in any case, we could talk about this all day. But I think that means
It's trivia time!
Okay, Peter, do you want to hit me with a trivia question first, or shall I hit you?
Okay, you go first because I'm not gonna know.
Okay,
you're gonna hit me good.
So one of my favorite things from Disney's Hollywood Studios, Disney-MGM Studios, was the Great Movie Ride. And did you know that there were 3 attempts, according to Wikipedia, there were 3 attempts to bring it out to California? And I'm curious if you know any of these attempts.
Oh, I didn't know there were 3. I knew that there was planning for a park such as the Disney-MGM Studios to be built in here in California, and then they decided to just make it a land for DCA. So I'm going to say one attempt was that.
So Disney California Adventure, it was an attempt to be part of Hollywoodland, as you said, budget cuts.
I believe there was an attempt to put it into Disneyland.
Yes, they were going to build a Hollywoodland in Disneyland.
They were going to do a whole land.
And that whole project, that whole land fell apart because of budget cuts. And the other one is shocking.
The third attempt, I think, was that they were going to put it on the Queen Mary. I don't know. No, it was going to be right down the street from here. What?
They were going to build, this is what Wikipedia says. First were plans to incorporate the attraction into the proposed Disney-MGM Studio Backlot project, a 40-acre film studio-themed retail and entertainment district that was planned but ultimately never built for downtown Burbank, California during the late 1980s.
Oh my.
So can you imagine... Like, literally, 10 minutes down the road, 5 minutes down the road from where we are right now, there's going to be a Disney-MGM shopping district with a great movie ride.
It'd be work for people.
Dude, I would have bought an annual pass just to ride that thing over and over again.
You would be in it. You would be the gangster.
Did you ever get to do...
I didn't play that. I was not there because, sadly, those weren't considered actors. They were ride operators because they had to operate the ride. But a lot of them were actors. I know, actually, one of my really good friends now, that's where he started. And he's one of the best actors I know now.
Yeah.
But that's where he started. And a lot of them were college program kids, too.
That's crazy. But yeah, so down the street. Honestly, they should build it in Hollywood and Highland.
That would be... But it would have to be far more exciting.
Sure. But, I mean, they can update it.
Can't do the, welcome to Alien.
Yeah.
And then she's
this is Alien.
Sigourney's just standing there turning like half a turn.
I love that attraction, though, so much.
The Wicked Witch, though, at the time...
Oh, was incredible.
The best ever
audio animatronic
bit. And at one point, I do know that the hand fell off.
Oh, really?
During one of the times, and this awful green... fluid came out of my hand.
No.
And we were like, ah!
That's funny.
So it's had some breakdowns, which are very funny.
Have you seen the Ursula's head come off?
No!
Oh gosh, there's video out there. Ursula's head came off on the Little Mermaid ride, and it's like dangling from wires and still moving.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Oh, it's terrifying.
It's so Ursula.
Yeah, so Ursula.
Do you want yours?
Yes, let's hear it.
All right, you might know this, but I'm going to try. I have 2.
Okay.
So there used to be a program called the Star a Day program.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Who was the very first star of the day, opening day? This star came down because you know what we used to do? We were the people that led those parades.
Oh, okay.
So we were the police.
Was Rick Moranis ever a star of the day?
Yep. And that was the benefit. We got to meet all of these actors.
I want Rick Moranis on this show so badly. I love Rick Moranis.
Rick, do the show.
Oh my gosh. I love him.
He's nice. That was one of the greatest things was because we were the actors and where our trailer was backstage, we got to meet all these celebrities. They would come into our trailer and talk to us.
That's crazy.
And we would get to meet them.
So he was great?
He was nice. He's super nice.
He's super shy from what I understand.
Yeah, he is.
But, God.
But he was really nice. I mean, the one day, opening day, I'm standing outside of our trailer, and these vintage cars are going by, and it's Sid Charisse and Mickey Rooney and like these famous actors going by, because that was the route for them to go out on into the park.
Yeah.
And they're just driving by, and I'm standing there by myself going, are you kidding? This is like who's who of Hollywood.
Yeah. In Orlando, Florida. But so this program is how they got everybody to do the handprints, right? For the
they
Chinese
would do the
thing?
handprint.
Okay. So you're asking me who the first one was.
The very first one was.
I'm going to just guess and
opening day.
Say like Carol Burnett.
No.
It's not something silly like Mickey Mouse or something, is it?
Not Mickey Mouse, but
Roger Rabbit?
Not Roger Rabbit. Mickey Mouse connected in a way.
Wayne Allwine?
No, but that's a crazy name.
Do you know who?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know who.
Annette Funicello.
Oh, Annette Funicello.
She was the best Musketeer. Yeah. So she was the very first star day. And then George Burns and Bob Hope were there to cut the, not ribbon, but film tape.
The film strip.
That officially opened it.
Wow.
So yeah, we got to see amazing celebrities and meet them, and just like, it was crazy. And that was the other thing that made it so great.
Yeah. Was
that I remember us performing one day, and Alice Cooper would just sit on the bench and watch us, and he used to love our stuff. It was just so weird like that. Like, I was talking to this woman, and when I walked away, everyone said, "Oh my God, how was that?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And they go, "Do you not know that was Raquel Welch?"
Oh, wow.
I'm like, no, I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
You know, George Lucas is standing backstage one day and took a picture with him. He's super nice.
Yeah.
You know, those weird, crazy things would happen all the time.
That's wild. That's wild. Well, Peter, thank you so much for coming on this show. Why don't you let the folks know where they can find you? Are you on social media and everything?
I am. I mean, I just have my silly little Twitter account and stuff. I'm not a huge social media person. Isn't that horrible?
That's like, well, you can plug Rockwell again if you're there all the time.
I'm hosting Rockwell, the Disney nights there, Disney Bar, and Jeff will be there performing.
Sometimes, yes. Whenever they ask me.
But you're coming.
I'm there. Well, this will air after, but I'll be there tomorrow night.
And then let's pretend he's going to do it 3 more times when you hear this.
Yeah, I'll do it sometime in the future.
But yeah, Rockwell Table and Stage, that, and then just around town and stuff.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And on repeats of Hannah Montana. I'm sure it'll be on Disney Plus.
I know. I heard some of the stuff that I'm like, oh, that'd be so great. My career will come back.
But they don't do residuals, do they? That was
I don't care about
wasn't
residuals. I just want people to go, hey, aren't you the guy from?
Yeah. Cool.
I'll get my own work.
Well, folks, head over to DisneyCoastToCoast.com. Make sure you sign up for our music playlist there, as it is a new month, which means a new music playlist is out. You can also find all of our social media there, and don't forget to leave those 5-star ratings and reviews on iTunes to help other Disney fans find the show more easily. Other than that, folks, have a magical day. Bye!
Thanks for listening to Disney Coast to Coast. Have a magical day.
Disney Coast to Coast is produced and hosted by Jeff DePauli. Learn more about the podcast and become a supporter at DisneyCoastToCoast.com.